Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video, and in today's video I'm going to be giving my prediction for the Raymond Muratalla versus Andy Cruz fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like the video if you do indeed like the video, and feel free to join the Patreon as well. This is going to be early released on the Patreon because it has been requested. There's been plenty of videos requested on the Patreon at the moment, and again, I appreciate all the support and which I've had with it. And if you use code Axel72 throughout the whole of January, you'll get 75% off the Patreon. And you can use the Patreon to request any kind of combat sporting related content. And again, it will be early released if you request it early. And you can also use it for betting tips or just general conversation with other people in the community. And also, if you're wanting to get back into the gym with some possible New Year's resolutions, if you use code AXEL10 at grindactivekinetics.com, you will get 10% off any order to get yourself some new gym wear, like I say, to start off the new year strong. And yeah, let's get straight into this one though. And I mean, this is a real nice, exciting fight. You know, I was surprised to see that Muratalla Andy Cruz was happening, and I mean, this fight is going ahead with two guys from two different promoters, and it's rare to see that these fights happen, and especially with top ranked fighters as well being taken often the easiest route to get world titles. I mean, we see at the moment Muratalla has just been elevated to become a world champion, so again, I mean, I doubt we would have ever seen Lomachenko versus Muratalla, even though, you know, of course, Lomachenko was also a top ranked fighter as well. I just doubt we would have ever seen it. And then also, I mean, we're seeing it with Xander Zayas as well. He got, I'm pretty sure, elevated to being a world champion as well. And now he's going for a unification. But again, it's against a guy who, in Abbas Barriou, who's a real underrated fighter. But again, he's somebody else that's been elevated. It's not, you know, one of the big names to go in for a unification against. Arguably, it's one of the easiest names. Not to say that this is an easy name for Muratalla, but again, typically top rank do pick and choose their opponents a bit. But with, you know, Andy Cruz being in a good IBF mandatory position, maybe that's what's gotten involved and that's what's happened, and that's why this fight is going ahead. I mean, before this, Muratalla's had a couple of good tests, having beaten both Abdullayev and Farmer in better fashion than that of Zepeda, I will add, for the Farmer fight, but hasn't, at least in my eyes, stood out as a star kind of world champion name amongst the rest of the division. Of course, the division has kind of lost, I suppose, to an extent, a couple of big names, with Shakur now going on to fight in the super lightweight division. Who knows if he'll come back down again? Probably not. And Keyshawn Davis as well. I mean, he's gone up because he basically had to, because he couldn't make the weight anymore. So again, the division's become a little bit weaker. And Lomachenko, of course, you know, this belt is his, and obviously, you know, now Muratalla is champion due to Lomachenko. He vacated, which was sad to see, but again, for these contenders, it is good because Lomachenko was kind of holding up the division due to the fact that he basically was just fighting once a year at the kind of back end of his career. And, you know, it was a great moment whenever he was fighting, but again, it was just rare, and he was only ever really fighting at the end, the big names. So again, if it wasn't going to make sense for him, then he wasn't really going to do it. So again, I just didn't think either of these guys at this point in their careers would have been a big enough name for Lomachenko to fight. And I mean, at the start of Cruz's career, I was skeptical, like I feel like many others were, thinking that he wouldn't be able to be progressed as quickly as Matchroom and Eddie Hearn were kind of talking about and wanting. And I mean, I feel like they kind of have just actually stuck to their promise. I mean, they've stuck to their promise this time. There's a few fighters in which, in the past, you know, they've not always been progressed the way in which they've kind of been promised by, you know, not just Matchroom, all promoters. But to be fair, Cruz, again, since they signed him, Matchroom had to, you know, go for a bit of a bidding war to sign him, or, you know, it seemed like a lot of effort to get the contract. And as soon as they signed him, like I said, they wanted to move him quickly and to deliver a world title in only his 7th professional fight. I mean, again, I think the fact that Lomachenko has retired has helped this happen, like I've just talked about, but he has got to a good spot with the rankings being number one with the IBF. And I mean, if I was a prospect and a fighter trying to get to a world title position, I'd definitely choose to go down the IBF route for a world title, because more often than not, if you can get yourself into that mandatory position, then you are most likely definitely going to be getting a world title, whether the champion gets stripped or gets absolutely forced to fight you. And again, that might have happened here. And I mean, Cruz has been dominating his opponents so far, coming off a TKO win against Mishiro last time out, and he beat up Omar Salcedo before that after he was coming off a good win against Chris Colbert. So that was again not just an opponent there in Salcedo who's just a bum and hasn't actually fought anybody. He was coming off a good win and then he fought him, and then Cruz dominated. And Cruz, I mean, he's not as young as people think. He's 30 years old, but right now he's in his prime, and he could definitely be going into now, if he's able to win this fight, what could be a real good world title run, where perhaps, if he can live up to the hype and expectation in which he has upon him, which, I mean, there definitely is a lot more pressure is on him than that of Muratalla, in my opinion. But if he can, live up to that expectation and the skills in which we have seen from him so far, again, like I said, we could possibly see, a real new big star name in the lightweight division who will be taking on the other top world champions, and the fans will be wanting and demanding to see that as well, which again will be a refreshing thing to see as well. And to speak about both fighters individually, though, Muratalla as a fighter, he's somebody who, in my opinion, has his best shots being the one where he steps in with his right hand. I mean, I think he knows when to use it and when it's going to land. And whenever he does use it, it's a really nice shot that does get through. And it does often seem like the most powerful shot in which he has. But, he's got a couple of other good punches as well. He's able to get his jab through pretty well. He's got, a decent, good timed right hook as well, which he can often catch you with and land well with. He landed that well on Tevin Farmer at one point and actually seemed to, wobble him a little bit with that. And he's landed on a couple of opponents that shot as well. He's pretty efficient with his work for the most part. He's not really wasting too much. He's got pretty good shot counters with the right after taking a bit of a short step back. He'll take that short step back, create a bit of space, then chop him with the right hand again pretty nicely. He's got good fast hands. He's probably best at the mid-range, and I would say Cruz is probably best at the mid-range, so I'd imagine this will be that type of a fight. He's pretty comfortable, pretty relaxed for the most part, which again possibly could get him into some issues, but again does benefit him a bit at times as well. He's got good solid fundamentals, and he often is able to beat you to the punch. Again, will he be able to do that with Andy Cruz, and will that be something that matters against Andy Cruz with his reactions? Will Muratalla, try and land his jab, Cruz be able to slip it and then respond back straight away? Again, we'll have to wait and see. Negatives about Muratalla, in my opinion, he leaves himself in range quite a lot after throwing, allowing himself to be countered, as he's often out of position when he is coming in. And again, that was happening on a couple of occasions against Farmer and Abdullayev as well. Again, kind of any time in which we've seen him take that step up, he has made a few more kind of obvious issues and problems, and again, that was kind of quite an evident one. He can duck down when he is going back as well, and it means he can be a bit off balance, and you can see that you can then chop punches into him because he is just ducking down quite a bit. He can load up his punches a bit too long. Like I say, if he's waiting for that right hand a bit too long, he is not always having the most effect with his hooks when he's coming over the top. Again, he does sometimes struggle to get his overhand hooks to actually have much of an effect. He can leave a gap for a southpaw jab when he's coming straight, when he's coming in, because Tevin Farmer was having a lot of success with his jab and his at least straight left when he was coming in. And again, that was pretty much just landing straight through onto Muratalla's chin. He doesn't really often make the most of his opponents in bad positions, or at least, if they are a little bit wobbled, a little bit rocked, or even just, on the ropes in general. He's not really making the most out of them in that spot. He can be timed coming in quite a bit himself, and he sometimes goes into the pocket when he doesn't need to, and exchanges when he doesn't really need to. And again, that was happening in the Farmer fight as well. Cruz as a fighter, though, he's very sharp, very reactive, he's accurate, he's got an alternating powerful jab, which is a real impressive weapon that he has, which again will go to the body, to the head really nicely, but still carry a good kind of level of power. He works his gaps well, he's got good punch variety, he can slip and counter very quickly, which is again something in which I've seen razor sharp in the way that he can slip a jab and then counter back with a stronger shot of his own. He often knows when to change gear, and I mean sometimes he can be a little bit greedy, when he is changing gears, and can be possibly forcing the finish a little bit, but again, he's also really good at stopping any kind of momentum an opponent gets as well by changing the gears at the right time as well. He's got good power for sure, and again with the snap and with the speed that comes with, that can also catch opponents off guard as well. He pairs up and I mean even kind of quadruples up his right overhand quite a lot. I mean his last opponent was just getting continuously beaten up with this right overhand over and over again, and I'm sure by the end of the fight he was just kind of wishing that he would have got hit with a left hook, to be honest, because he was just continuously getting hit with that right hook that Cruz was landing with until he dropped. He does throw, really well, perfectly in my opinion, technically thrown overhands in the process as well, and he does also know how to have his hands up and when to have his hands up. He has a pretty good defense as well. He can be in the pocket, and it's not that easy to land on him. His defense isn't as good as what you say a Shakur Stevenson's is, but it is pretty smart and pretty good. And again, he can be very relaxed and composed while still having good defense in the pocket. Or again, even if he's at a range where his opponent can still reach as well, he's again, like I say, knowing when to put his hands up, knowing how to avoid, knowing how to slip, and then knowing how to respond back and cause damage as well. Negatives about him, he can definitely be overconfident, in my opinion, and a bit too relaxed. He can struggle at times working in the pocket if it doesn't, and if it gets into a physical fight, I just don't feel like he looks that comfortable. Doesn't mean he's getting hit much, but he just doesn't seem as comfortable. He does drop his hands a bit at times, but again, typically that's at times in which you can kind of avoid and you can deal with getting, and dropping the hands. I mean, there was one fight a little bit earlier on in his professional career. Obviously, it's not been that long of a pro career, but he did get caught, and it was against a bigger opponent, and he was just kind of stood in range waiting, and he got caught with an overhand. I think it was a left, and it did wobble him quite a lot. So I mean, I'm not too sure how good his chin is, but that opponent did seem a bit bigger. But again, still, Muratalla has the power and the snap and the speed to possibly be able to punish that. And I mean, to be fair, Muratalla hasn't really seemed as wobbled, at least in the bigger fights, from what I've seen, as to what I've seen with Cruz when he did get wobbled that one time. But again, that he's been able to come back from that and look real good, and he was able to come back from that just in that fight and still knock his opponent out. So again, you can't read too much into that. I suppose to an extent it is good that he can show the adjustments necessary as well. He can be pushed back a bit by a jab as well, and he can be caught with a double jab. If an opponent uses a double jab, he doesn't often expect that, and he can get caught with a second one. He is typically, in my opinion, used to a bit of a slower pace, but I don't think that Muratalla is going to set a tremendously high pace. He can rush to KO if he hurts you a bit, at least in my opinion. He can admire his work and stay in range too long a bit as well, and he can be a bit greedy in combinations at times, just taking that extra punch or two that maybe he doesn't need to, and then getting caught with a shot whilst doing so. Who do I think is going to win? I think that Andy Cruz is going to be able to win. I think he's going to be able to win via a unanimous decision. I mean, possibly if he's really, reactive and on it and really, like I say, turning into his punches and knowing when to throw them and got his timing down perfectly, he might be able to get a stoppage, but I think for the most part, it's going to be a decision. I think he's going to be able to find the gaps and catch Muratalla coming in. I think the straight shot will catch Muratalla, the straight left will catch him on multiple occasions, and I just don't feel like he's going to be comfortable getting hit with that shot. I think the reactions of both will be a bit of an interesting contest to see who's the sharper, but I think inevitably Cruz will come through with his amateur experience, showing that he is the sharper at a higher level. And again, just any time in which I have seen Muratalla take that little bit of a step up, to a fringe world level or like a world level kind of gatekeeper in that of a Farmer or an Abdullayev, not an actual world champion level, he has shown a little bit more weakness. And obviously, them two guys are probably better than all the names in which Cruz has had on his professional resume. But again, you look at his amateur resume as well. And I know the amateur game's different, but still, nonetheless, I'm going to go with an Andy Cruz unanimous decision victory. And then we can go on to fight next. I mean, there's definitely some real good fights still in the lightweight division to make with some young guys as well. I mean, Abdullah Mason is now WBO champion. I don't think they would do that fight straight away for Andy Cruz. I feel like they'd probably want some sort of defense for Cruz. So, I mean, they could have Schofield, who might be made, IBF mandatory, possibly. But again, I don't know if that fight will happen because it is still very risky for a first defense. Instead, maybe they could have like a Lucas Bardi or, somebody like that, or an Albert Bell. Again, possibly a couple names out there who could be made as all good kind of opponents. Like I said, there's some real good opponents in the lightweight division. I'd just like to see the lightweight division get progressed and moved along a little bit more, especially with now Lomachenko being out and Devin Haney not being there anymore, and Shakur Stevenson possibly going and not coming back down again. There should be some new guys coming through, and again, it should be exciting to see. And also with possibly Gervonta Davis maybe even retiring again, that should allow for even more names to be coming through. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.